Hey, what's going on YouTube, and welcome to this week's episode of Tuesday Preppers, where we take a look at the in-game news for FFBE and see what's going on so we can get ready for it. Incidentally, this week is kind of a slow week, which is kind of surprising, but we got some good news this week as well. Well, good news for some players, but let's go ahead and dive into the news before we dive into the other good news, and we'll talk about some boring news. So the boring news is that we're getting this rerun event, the Sealed Volcano. It's a raid for Final Fantasy IX. The enemy is a dragon, and it's a red dragon, but has no weaknesses or resistances. Usually red dragons are, weak to ice and water and resist fire, but not this one for some reason. So load up on Dragon Killer and beat it up with Final Fantasy IX units, I guess. You can only break its attack and magic as usual for a raid, and you can disease it. I don't know what disease you would give a dragon. Dragon rot, maybe? I don't know. But you can get some killers here, which is kind of nice. Physical and magic demon killer with some percentage attack and magic on it, which is kind of nice. This robe is like whatever. But there's a killer materia here. Cool. Go get stuff for Final Fantasy IX. Nice. You also have the other two pieces of content. So the Shivas Icebound Katana. This is an equipment enhancement event for this katana. It is the Ice Demon's Katana plus 219 attack, Ice Elemental two-handed weapon with a bunch of stats for Laswell and Blood of Hess characters, which is a new category, I think. And yeah, it's there. And ice units get a 200% bonus to their stats in this thing. I don't know if there's like a requirement for like what you want to bring, but it is, for example, what am I trying to say? It's it doesn't say right here. Oh, it's locked to certain types of characters. So I don't know. We'll see. But it's a human enemy. The vision of Shiva has no weaknesses or resistances. You can use all the breaks you want. It mainly does ice magic damage and some physical damage. It also uses stop on you. So there's lots of ways we can deal with that, depending on what our character limitations are. But at first rip, all we see here is all we see is that ice characters get a 200% bonus to their stats. So that's cool. You need human killer, we need dragon killer. We also need fairy killer. So this is the second part of this, the Silver Crown battles for Summon Iridia. It's against fairy enemies Ashura and Leviathan. They resist fire, ice, thunder, or Ashura resists fire, ice, thunder, water, and wind at 30%. Leviathan resists ice and water at 30%. They have no weaknesses, but if they're resisting all this other stuff, you probably want to bring something else. So I would say bring like water, or not water, like light or dark. And this is exclusive to evocation units and Final Fantasy IV category units. Since light is an option, I'm leaning more towards like Tsukiko. She could do earth, she could do fire, or she could do earth or light pretty easily. And there's lots of other options for evocation damage dealers or Final Fantasy IV category units. As far as tanks go for evocation, you could use Seymour, you could use Hallowed Ages Charlotte, and then for Final Fantasy IV, you could use like Paladin Cecil. So lots of options for that. But I think the best damage dealers, oh my gosh, sorry, are probably going to be either Tsukiko or the new Supreme Deva Axstar. Those are evocation damage dealers or evocation units, so you can definitely use them. And I think that's probably be how I'm going to go for it, is using Tsukiko to try and get this wiped out for Rydia's crowns. I have Rydia. I'm excited to get upgrades for her, even if they're not that great, just because Rydia's a cool character. And that's pretty much it. So fairy enemies, dragon enemies, and human enemies, as we talk about pretty much every week. Human is everything, so lots and lots of options for human killer. Mask of Ashura, Muramaza, Man-Eater Sense, Man Killer Plus, Guy's Belt, Weapon Specialist, Wild Rose Furion. Really, really good stuff for Human Killer. Kind of a joke. For Spirit, you've got Spirit Eater Sense from Gargantuan Grubbing the Sand, Spirit Killer Plus from Scoring the Genies, Fairy Eater Sense from Cerberus. You can craft your own Spirit Killers by doing the Catastrophe fight and getting the recipe for it. Could be a challenge depending on your units you have available. But they're there. And then on top of Spirit, we've got Dragon. So Dragon, there's a huge list, of trials and rewards for physical and for magical. You could get Ashura's Rod, Dragon Killer Plus recipe from Bahamut, Dragon Eater Sense from Octomammoth, Draco Spike, Pluty Saber, Holographic Transceiver, and then also, in addition to that, the Dark Lord Sword from Scorn of the Sworn 8, Glacial Battle Guard from the Mystical Ice Laswell. That's the one that's getting upgraded this week. Excuse me. Last Guardian from Noel, Virtue Drake again. Lots of stuff for physical killers. So tons and tons of stuff out there. As far as the news, we are getting the new Dragon Lord Roos, Bewitching Warrior Yish. Mystical Ice Laswell is getting upgraded. There's a banner with a step up and a card. The card seems like not that great and whatever. And so does Roos. Now Roos is getting some global upgrades. We see for his leader skill, 600% attack and magic for water category units. And then an upgrade to his Lend Me Your Strength Kokuryu. Who knows what that's going to be. And then Yish also has a leader skill for ice, I believe. Where is it? Yeah, 500 attack and magic for ice category units, and 200 defense and spirit. Cool. And then here's Laswell, looking cool with his trance shift. Awesome. There you go. As far as other news and important information is that they did put out a bulletin about Facebook. Here's what the compensation is going to be. For unaffected players, you are getting a little bit of compensation, not a ton. But then on top of that, there's this big long list of stuff. So I'm glad that they're handling this well for Facebook bound players. They also noted here players whose accounts were bound to Facebook, as well as those who switched during this transition, are going to be affected and getting all of the rewards. And then also these Parasite Eve daily 10+1 tickets, those are going to be sent out later than the rest of the compensation because they need more time to prepare it. They're also going to be extending the dates of the following: the Gapro Whitewood Exploration, all the Final Fantasy 13 summons, and all this other stuff related to fragments and stuff that's available in the shop, and things like that. They're also extending the login bonus for Parasite Eve and the other logins that were affected during that, but they are not extending Clash of Wills. They're not extending Dark Visions, which is kind of a shame. Because a lot of players missed out on it. Now, arguably, you could have gone back in and just done it, but maybe you have, maybe you haven't had time. But there you go. And that's really it as far as the news goes. Exciting times. Not a ton of content this week. A raid and a rerun raid, a single weapon enhancement event, and a Silver Crown battle. So we'll have some fun with that on Thursday, I guess, because there won't be any other content to do. In the meantime, you guys be good to each other. Take care, and we'll see you on Thursday. Thanks for sticking around, and happy gaming.